Angela Merkel in her natural habitat at the most recent EU summit. Here, Europe's longest-serving head of government has been forging compromise for 15 years. Yet there are telltale signs of a Chancellor on her final stretch in office. What was supposed to be her latest budget speech became a foreign policy roadmap, largely removed from the nitty-gritty of domestic politics.
It's very easy to be critical of the US, which no longer wants to take on responsibility in the places it used to. But first and foremost, that points back to us, here, in Europe.
MPs increasingly see Merkel focused on her European legacy.
I believe she is focusing everything on the German EU Council presidency, but that won't be easy. That will take more than launching a successful EU-China summit in the fall. It will be a tough program if she wants to celebrate becoming the big European leader at the end of her chancellorship.
With Germany's EU presidency coming up in the second half of 2020, Merkel needs to mend the strategically important marriage with France to fulfill her key aim, a united Europe that can stand up to an increasingly dominant China. Back home, her own party worry that her refusal to actively back a successor could weaken Germany's position.
Speaking of political leadership, I think she should think about supporting someone. So to give us an assurance, the Germans and the Europeans and everybody out there, who could play also a role for stability.
That someone is still widely tipped to be his successor as party leader, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer. Also defense minister, she recently called for a more active role for German troops on the world stage. She offers the kind of clarity even Merkel fans have lately been missing at the top.
I see only one deficiency, that's the lack of a national strategy, which shows more transparency about German interests and German strengths and weaknesses.
The current German Chancellor isn't a lame duck yet, but the clouds of a long goodbye are hanging over her office in Berlin. It's an open secret here that the main reason why Angela Merkel continues to ride out her coalition woes back home is her concern over the stability of the European Union. At the same time, many are struggling to imagine what a post-Merkel Germany or Europe would look like.
And for more on this, I'm joined now by our political correspondent, Emmanuel Schaz. Emmanuel, thanks for being with us. Now, we just heard in that report that people are now starting to look ahead to a post-Merkel Germany. What might that look like? I mean, today we saw Austria's Conservatives agree to a coalition with the Greens. Is that a possible scenario here in Germany as well?
Well, it's definitely being discussed, this option of the Greens being in the government. We've seen here in Germany, especially in the past year, that there was a surge of interest for the Green Party. You saw also the youth with Fridays for Future demanding that politicians include more green policies in their agenda. So it's certainly in everyone's mind. And if you look at the Green Party here in Germany, Robert Habeck, the co-leader of the party, is a personality that is much loved by the Germans themselves. So could he be the next chancellor? Yes, that's a possibility. And could a coalition government be composed by the Conservatives and the Greens also here in Germany, just like we saw in Austria? That's a possibility, yes.
OK. Now, could we see a new government sooner rather than later, given that Merkel's coalition with the Social Democrats is increasingly under strain?
The coalition is under strain, especially since the SPD, the Social Democrats, elected new leaders in December, leaders that are far more left-wing than uncompromising than the former one. That being said, we have seen many rifts in that coalition ever since it started, and yet it sticks together, and not least because indeed, it brings stability to the country, especially in the wake of the rise of the far right in Germany, and also in the wake of Germany having to put its impulse on European policy if it wants to remain a deciding power here in Europe. So I think also there's a consensus within the current coalition to maintain the stability for now. And if you look at the results, this coalition already fulfilled 2/3 of what it had agreed upon. So so far, it is a coalition that is shaky, but it also delivers its promises.
All right, DW's Emmanuel Chaz, thanks so much.
Thank you.